Good afternoon, Pnawn da, Croeso, welcome. Welcome to this RCN Wales Pay event as part of our Fair Pay for Nursing campaign. It's really great to see lots of people joining in this afternoon. I'm going to start with a few introductions. We have a couple of people who will be speaking, and then we'll go for some questions and answers as well. You should be able to see a chat bar that you can put your questions in, so please keep them coming, as many as possible. We'll do our very best to answer all of them if we can. We're scheduled to run the event until 6 o'clock, so we've got a whole hour of opportunity of catching up and discussing with each other where we are in terms of NHS pay for RCN members in Wales. And it really is a delight for me today to come along and to be the chair. I'm Helen Wiley, I'm the director at RCN Wales, and I've got some colleagues with me. Unfortunately, we are having a few problems getting Jackie Davis, the Wales RCN Trade Union committee member, into the presenter side of the call, but we're carrying on trying to get Jackie involved, and if we can't, we're hoping that Jackie is also taking part as part of the audience. So if there are any particular questions that people have for Jackie, we can pick them up outside, and also if there are any things that Jackie wants to add, we can make sure that we share them afterwards. Technology is always one of those things, isn't it? And sometimes it all goes to plan and sometimes it doesn't, but we're going to carry on trying to get Jackie into the presenter side. So without further ado, I have two people to introduce to you, both just going to speak briefly to us. The first one is well known to members across the RCN in Wales, and it's Richard Jones. Richard is the RCN Wales board chair, and he's also the RCN Wales council member. And in addition, I believe he's also the chair of the Cwmtath branch, so he'll be well known to many of you, and Richard's just going to give us a sort of a strategic overview of the programme of work for pay thus far. So thank you very much, Richard, and over to you. You're on mute, Richard.
Trust me. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real delight to be here this afternoon. It's such a good, glorious afternoon here in Hirwaun. Can I just say that the RCN Pay Programme Board has been formally established under our governance arrangements, and it's for the oversight and approval processes of the pay award going forward. It provides leadership, expertise, and appropriate challenge and advice to ensure that all the decisions that we make are underpinned with appropriate evidence base. It actually brings together the 12 chairs of the subcommittees around the United Kingdom, and it's formed into one programme board. So it covers the whole of the United Kingdom. And the RCN subgroup, of which I chair, is made up of board members from across all our branches across Wales, so that we are very much member-led on the pay award that has been put forward. So that's a strategic overview of the Pay Programme Board, and we actually meet weekly, and we meet weekly with the Programme Board as well. So that's where we are as far as the governance is concerned. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you very much, Richard. If anybody does have any questions about those governance arrangements, please put them into the chat box, and we will try and get those answered for you as well today. So now I'd like to introduce to you Nikki Hughes. Nikki is the Associate Director Employment Relations at RCN Wales, and Nikki's just going to talk to us a little bit about where we are so far in the campaign and the sorts of things that we can expect to be happening in the next week or so. So thank you very much, Nikki.
Thank you, Helen, and good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this evening for this really important session on pay. So you may remember that this time last year we went out and started our pay campaign, and our members asked, and we went out sort of earlier last year to ask members in a survey, in focus groups, in interviews, what pay award they were looking for. So our members told us that you were looking for 12.5% pay award. You may then be aware, so we've got the pay campaign. You may then be aware that the pay review body looked at lots of evidence, and on the 21st of July, both the UK government and the Welsh government said that we were getting a 3% pay award. Now, it's just good to note that this is a pay award, not an offer. So this means that that award will be in your pay packets either September or October, and we can't accept or reject it because it's not an offer. However, what we can do is tell Welsh Government very, very loudly that it's not acceptable, that amount. You know, we know that nurses are taking home less in their pay packets now than they were 10 years ago. We know that inflation is 3.7%, and we know that safe staffing levels are not being achieved at the moment. Many of you are telling us that you're concerned about staffing levels and the effect it's having on patient care. So actually, you know, 3% is not enough really to keep nurses in the profession and to attract people to the profession, because you are telling us as well that many are having hardship with finance. You know, COVID has affected nurses just the same and their families just the same as everywhere else. So we decided to ballot our members, and you may be very aware, I'm sure, that on the 12th of August we started a consultative ballot whether you feel that the pay award is acceptable or not acceptable. And you should have had a number of emails, the first email and then a few follow-up emails just reminding you to have your vote, have your say. And it's really, really important that you do have your vote. So if you haven't had an email, please go into your spam, have a look at that, see if it's just gone into spam. The last one would have come out on Thursday. It would have been the 2nd of September. If you still haven't had one, then give RCND a ring and they will be able to check that your details are up to date. If that's so, you can then follow it up with Civica, who are running the ballot as an independent scrutineer, who can make sure that you've had that email. So really important to get and vote. We've been doing lots and lots of work over the summer with the Summer of Action. We've lots of our reps, you'll have seen them out in the workplaces, you know, when they could get to, you know, safely with COVID, to areas, putting up posters, talking to people. You'll have seen staff around, you'll have seen the Digivan driving around Wales for 2 weeks. So lots have been going on to talk to members about making sure you vote, and that consultation is coming to an end on the 13th of September. So it's really important, and you need to get your details up to date if you haven't already by the 9th, by the end of the 9th, to make sure that you're included in the vote. So really important to have your vote and to get involved with the Summer of Action. We've got some more meetings coming up next week for the last week of the ballot, and I know hopefully we'll be able to put the link to that in, and those are all around Wales. So please get out there, talk to your reps. So everybody can do something in this campaign. This is the start of a long journey. This is the start of us making sure that nurses get the pay that they deserve for the roles that you do. So it's really important for everybody to get involved. Now, I know not everybody can, you know, spend hours putting up posters or talking to people, but, you know, if you have a cup of coffee with one of your peers that you haven't seen for a while, or people on your ward, or with your family or friends, talk about pay, tell them why nurses deserve a better pay and how important it is to make sure that we've got safe staffing levels on those wards and in the community. So You can also, if you want to get more involved, you can go to the Pay Campaign website. You can order merchandise there, free. It will come directly to your home. You can put posters up. You can get actively involved. You might want to have an event in your workplace, something like that. If COVID allows. So if you want to do more, then obviously the world's your oyster, and if you get in contact with us, we can help you. We can help you to set things up. We can provide you with whatever you need. So if you, as I say, at the very least, just talk about pay, make sure you vote, and this is the start of a journey for us. This isn't going to end on the 13th of September. This is going to continue. So please, just get the word out there and stick with it, and join us in whatever you can do. Thank you, Helen.
Can I come in as well on there, Nikki? Can I thank you very much for all the support that staff have given to us activists out there on the front line. I think that's really important. And you also mentioned about merchandise. And I have to say, one of the most successful pieces of merchandise that I had was the Fair Pay car stickers. And my neighbours all around me, have got the car stickers on their own cars, and they are supporting us with our campaign for fair pay. So for me, it's about getting the word out there, getting your details up to date, and ensuring that people know about it. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you, Nikki and Richard. That was very, very helpful. And for people joining into the call, what you'll see if you go to the chat box, you'll see a number of links that Derek, who's moderating for us today, has kindly put there for you, which will take you directly to the activity that's happening in Wales. There's the link to the Summer of Action map, which shows online events that are happening across the NHS in Wales, as well as the route of the Digivan, and also any events that are happening actually in hospitals. Of course, that's a lot more difficult to do because of the COVID restrictions. But similarly as well, you'll see how to order materials. So you can literally click on that and ask for some badges or some car stickers that Richard was talking about, or some posters or leaflets as well. And we'll get those out to you as soon as we possibly can. There's a really good leaflet in there as well, which explains in more detail what Nikki was saying about why this is a pay review body recommendation, and how the government have actually accepted that rather than it being a pay negotiation. So please make use of those. Just follow that link that Derek's put there, and it will take you straight over to the ordering campaign materials. One thing also just to say about the car stickers is that I know the North Wales branch, particularly on Twitter, have been using the car stickers, giving them to local businesses who've used them as window stickers, which I thought was a really clever idea. So they've just been encouraging local businesses and companies to support the Fair Pay for Nursing campaign by just putting one of these stickers in their windows, and it is amazing what an effect that can have. So I'm just having a look at some questions coming in, and we've got one coming in at the moment, which I'm just going to share with my colleagues on the call, so that they can see it, and then I will ask them to answer it. So please keep your questions coming, because we want to answer everything that you are asking us to cover. So the first question is, why is the RCN looking for 12.5%? So I think I'll go to Nikki first, because she started setting out some of the 12.5%, asking her short introduction, and then of course I'll ask Richard if he wants to comment as well. So would you like to answer that one first for us, Nikki?
Yes, thank you, Helen. So the 12.5% ask is what our members are asking for. So it's not RCN has made a decision, it's members have asked for that. And all decisions within the RCN around pay are made by our elected members, the elected members that you have elected onto committees and things. So Jackie Davis is on the Trade Union Committee as a member. and she's also a representative, but she would have been party to those discussions and those decision making. So just to be really clear, it's a member decision. So the way members got to that figure is, you may remember quite early on in COVID, we sent out a survey, and that had some information there around, or some questions around pay and what people felt that they deserved. So so 42,000 people answered that survey, and then from there, later into the summer last year, we went out to members, we talked on the phone with members, we did focus groups, we did interviews, and that's where that figure came from. And when we looked at some of the economic modelling, particularly around when the pay review body evidence was going in, we know that, that barely covers what people have lost over the last 10 years. But we also know that that's affordable for the government. So that's where our members pitched it, and our members asked for 12.5%.
Thank you, Nikki. Richard, did you want to add anything at all about the 12.5% and how we arrived at that?
No, I think that Nikki has clearly identified how we came to that. The one thing I want to say is that once all that evidence was gathered, it then went to the Trade Union Committee, and then it came up to Council. So we actually approved that amount once it had all gone through all the correct procedures. So that's what our members wanted. So that is what we are fighting for. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. And the next one that's coming in, it's more of a technical question. So I'm going to come to you again, Nikki, on this one. And this questioner is asking, if the NHS isn't my main job, am I still able to vote? So can you help the questioner out with that one, please?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Helen. So if you've got a second job that you work for the NHS and you've got Agenda for Change terms and conditions, you are eligible to vote. But what you will need to do is go through to RCND and make sure that they've got that as a secondary job on your details. So unfortunately, you can't add it on My RCN. We are looking at that actually to make sure that we can in the future, but certainly ring RCND. They can put it on as a second job, and then that information will go to Civica and you will get your email.
Can
you,
I
Nikki.
add something to that as well?
Yes, please do come in, Richard.
Yeah, can I just say, similarly, I think that if you were a student, some students work on the NHS Bank and their Agenda for Change. So therefore that would be, like Nikki has said, a second job. So therefore, if you are a student and if you're employed on the bank under Agenda for Change terms, then you too are able to vote.
Thank you, Richard. That's really helpful. And I know that Derek has also put the RCN direct contact number into the chat box. So if people have got any queries like that, they can follow that up there. And similarly, you'll find information on the internet. But just to stick with some kind of process issues whilst we wait for more questions to come in, I think another thing that members might be asking is, well, I haven't had my email, or I can't find my email. So any guidance or advice that you think that we can give them? And again, I'll come to you, Nikki, because I know that this is sort of an everyday thing that you and the team are dealing with.
Yes, of course, Helen, thank you. So as I said, if you haven't had an email, you should have had a number of emails. There should have been one on the 12th of August, and then there should be one every Thursday, just as a reminder and a prompt. So, and in there, you've got your own individual link to the vote to be able to go on and vote. So if you haven't had that, first thing to do is to look in your spam. So look in your email spam to check that your computer hasn't diverted it thinking it was something that you shouldn't have had. So that's the first step. The second step then is to either go on My RCN or ring RCND and make sure that your details are right and that we are emailing the right email. Some people put a default, they prefer different emails, and it may be that over time you've changed your email. So go on my RCN, update your details, or ring into RCND. And if they say your details are up to date, then it may be an issue with Civica, and we can put the email on the chat as well, the email that you can email Civica to get some support in why that email hasn't come out to you. So they are the ones they are the independent scrutineer organisation who are sending out the emails for us. It comes back branded as RCN and Civica, so it's not, it may look slightly different to what you're expecting. So Civica would be the next people if we know that your details are up to date, and all that information we put in the chat, but it's also on the website.
Okay, thank you. So we've got another question coming in, and it's asking, how will this pay award affect part-time members? Again, it's quite a technical one, so I will come to you first, Nikki, but I'll come to you afterwards, Richard, as well. So the question is, how will the pay award affect part-time members?
Thank you, Helen. Yes, so part-time members will get 3%, the same as everybody else. So it's 3% across all bands, across all increments. So it's simple in that way that everybody will get it. So if you work part-time, then obviously you'll have the 3% on top of your normal wage. So it will go on 3% of what you normally get.
Okay. I think that's really clear. Again, it's quite a technical one, so I'm not going to come to you on that one, Richard. We are still open, of course, for more questions, but whilst we're waiting for another question to come in, I'm going to take a little bit of chair's license and ask a couple of questions myself. So the first one really I want to get to, which really does link to that last question about 3% for part-time, and this is just about actually, if this is not an offer, if it's an award, why is the RCN consulting with its members, and what exactly does this ballot mean for members who are taking the time to use their democratic vote and say what they think about this 3%? So again, I will come to you first, Nikki, but then Richard, I'll follow that up and see if you would like to come in.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so sorry, Helen, can you just remind me of the question?
So the question, and it's my question, I'm asking this one really, is if this is an award and not an offer, why is the RCN asking its members? Why is the RCN consulting, and actually what is it members are actually being asked to vote on?
Yeah, apologies, Sunday afternoon fuzzy brain, I think, for some reason. So yes, so this is just the first step in the process. So we need to go out to members and ask whether they think it's acceptable, and that's what we've done, because even though we haven't got choice, it's going into pay packets, we actually can make a stand and tell the government that this is not good enough, particularly after all the highlight that we've had around the profession during the COVID crisis. This just isn't good enough. So we have to make a stand and tell the government that it's not good enough, and it's not going to keep nurses in the profession and keep our patients safe. So this is the first step in a journey to get a feel for what our members think about it. Once the ballot's closed, obviously we keep talking about pay, but then we need to make a decision. So if a number of our, if a lot of our members who voted say it's unacceptable, then we need to obviously go to our trade union committee and to council and the pay programme board to ask what next steps they want to consider. Now, the next steps could be that we take a trade dispute out with the government and enter into some legal processes around moving towards action. So the next step would be possibly an indicative ballot, which would be a ballot back out to you as members, which would ask you whether you would want to take action or not. And that could be things like action short of strike, which is things like working to rule, making sure that you only perform the duties of your job. So, for instance, if you're a registered nurse, then you wouldn't go down to pharmacy to collect drugs for a patient, because actually that's not what a registered nurse is. Should be doing. So it's about having your breaks, finishing on time, all those things. So action short of strike, or then strike action. So we would come out to you as members and say, are you willing to take action? And then if you are willing to take action, we would then look at coming out again, and we probably will ask you what kind of action you're happy to take. And then if people want to take action, then we may need to go out to a statutory ballot around strike action. But for us to get to that point, and this is going to be a long journey, for us to get to a statutory ballot, we need 50% of our members to vote in Wales, and we need a majority, a simple majority. So 51% of those 50% need to vote. So just a simple majority. So we've got to, members really need to get on the back of this. Obviously, it's, we all think, oh my goodness, strike action, but it would be done very, very safely. It would be very planned. We would never put any patients at risk. We would support you. So, but this is going to be a journey, and we will go on that journey with you. But rest assured, it will be you as members that make the decision about next steps. But we do have to get the government to sit up and take notice that 3% just isn't acceptable.
Yeah, can I actually come in on that, Nikki? You've been very clear in the process that we follow. But when we come to the final ballot will be for our members in Nhs Wales who are on agenda for change, terms and conditions. So it's not for any other groups. So those would be the members that we would be balloting. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sure that content might create some more questions, and we'll pick those up. I want to go to a question that's come in from one of the audience, and this is about the funding for the Pay Awards. And the question is, how is the Pay Award, the NHS, obviously the NHS Wales Pay Award, being funded? So I'd like to come to you first on that one, Richard.
Under normal circumstances, there would be funding from the UK government. Is called the Barnett Consequential. So that actually comes into Wales to actually support any pay award. Unfortunately, and I think I am correct, Nikki, in this, is that the monies have to be found from within the Welsh Government. So therefore, we haven't got any of those consequentials at the moment. Is that correct, Nikki?
Yes, thank you, Richard. Yes, you're absolutely right there in that there was a slight increase in the budget in April after the spending review and things, but actually the main body of the 3% is going to have to be funded by Welsh Government. Having said that, and Welsh Government have made a decision that it needs to come out of the health budget. Having said that, it's a political choice how they spend their budget. And we have provided evidence to suggest that actually giving NHS staff, nurses in our case, more money would actually improve the economy, because hopefully people would be able to spend it in a better way. You'd hopefully be able to cover your bills and maybe have a little money over to do something nice. So actually we've got the evidence to say if you pay people more, then it will boost the economy. It is a political choice. They don't have to take it from the health budget, but that's certainly what Eluned Morgan is suggesting she's doing as Minister for Health and Social Services. But we would question that because they've got a wider budget and extra funding this year because of COVID.
Thank you, Nikki and Richard. All sounds really quite complicated, and I know that it is, but an important point for members to understand. I suppose also from my perspective, as the director, I see oversight of a number of things that happen, and one thing for sure is that the amount of money that's been spent on agency nursing this year is going to rise significantly, and I think that's an argument that RCN board and staff make regularly, is that if we converted some of that agency spend into a consolidated pay award, not only would we spend public money in a far more efficient manner, but we'd also improve the continuity of care for patients who would have existing staff and not agency staff looking after them. Again, I'm sure that's going to create some more questions coming in from our audience. But yeah, I think would you like to come back in again, Richard? Yes, of course.
Yeah, just on the last point that you made, at this moment in time, I understand we've got about 1,500, approximately 1,500 registered nurse vacancies. So for me, why are we not able to fill those vacancies that we've already got? I mean, we need to be encouraging more people to enter the profession. We need to be encouraging people back into the profession. So for me, one of the main things is that the salary levels are not appropriate.
Thank you, Richard. A point very well made, and I will come back to that in a second. That issue about staffing levels and the link to pay. But we've had a couple of questions coming in from the audience. I want to make sure that we cover them. But if both of you would bear that in mind, I want to come back to that issue about you know, whether this is all about money or whether it's about other things as well. But before we do that, a couple of questions in from the audience. I want to make sure we cover them. The first one is, again, it's quite technical, so I might come to you with this one, Nikki. And the questioner is saying, if I left the NHS prior to the pay awards being made, will I still receive any additional monies? Do you want to cover that one for us, Nikki?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So the pay award is backdated to April of this year. So if you were in employment after and you've only just left, then you should be entitled, I believe, for that money to come back, because it was backdated to April. So what I would suggest is that you contact your old employer and see how that is going to be paid to you now that you've left.
Thank you. Very helpful answer. I'm going to move on to the next question. This is a question about retired members, and the questioner is asking, as a retired member, can I take part in the consultation? And Richard, I think I'd like to go to you first on that one, if that's okay. So they're asking, as a retired member, can I take part in this consultation?
Unfortunately, if you are not employed in the NHS under Agenda for Change, you are not able to take part in the consultation. It is for people who are currently employed under Agenda for Change terms and conditions. So unfortunately, you can't.
Thank you, Richard. And obviously, Richard's making a complete reference to the vote. But what you can do, of course, is support your colleagues who are still working in the NHS. We've got lots of retired members involved in branch activities. So if you are retired, absolutely you won't be able to vote, because you're not employed there anymore, but you can spread the word about the consultation. You can come along to events, you can put posters up, you can take the car stickers to your local organisations, and you can be involved, even though unfortunately you won't be able to vote because you're not employed by the NHS.
Yeah, and can I come in with that as well and say that our experience during this period of consultation is that our retired members have been the ones that have been out there helping us, assisting us, spreading the word, and that is so important.
Sorry, my mute button was a little bit sticky there. I was just waiting for it to come off mute, so apologies, a little delay. Thank you. So I'm going to move on to our next question. And this is a question, and the questioner is asking, why did the RCN reject the offer in Scotland and not this consultation? So I think the questioner might be a little confused, because obviously the consultation for England and Wales is open at the current time, but it might be helpful, Nikki, if you wouldn't mind just setting out why things are slightly different in Scotland, so that the questioner can get a sense of how the different countries are doing things. I'd be grateful if you wouldn't mind doing that, Nikki.
Yes, of course. Thanks, Helen. So the Scottish Government decided not to use the pay review body, and they decided to go into negotiations with the unions. So it's a slightly different scenario to what we have here in Wales. So they had a negotiation, whereas ours was pay review body make a recommendation, and unions couldn't talk around the table. All we could do is provide evidence to why we felt that 12.5% was right. So in the negotiation then, what the government in Scotland did is they made an offer. So again, back to me saying we've got an award, whereas in Scotland they had an offer. So if you're offered something when you've had a negotiation, you're able then to go out and accept or reject it. So Scottish Government, they did this very quickly before they went in on recess for a few weeks. So that's why Scotland happened quite a lot earlier than England and Wales, because they were negotiating a lot earlier. They didn't go in recess, apologies. They stopped because they were having an election. So they did it early and very, very quickly, and Scotland only had 6 weeks to go out to members to ask whether they accept or reject it. So that's why Scotland's in a different place to the rest of us. One, it was a negotiation. Two, it was an offer, and it was done very, very quickly and much earlier. So they've actually, our members in Scotland, not all unions, but our members decided to reject that offer. And you will see from the press that RCN Scotland are now in dispute with the Scottish Government, and they have gone back into negotiations. So so Scotland have followed a similar process, but they've got slightly different circumstances.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki. Just shows you how devolution does make these things quite a lot more complex, and that actually the four countries of the United Kingdom are doing things quite differently, because the members might also be aware that in Northern Ireland we're not consulting with members, because we haven't even had a confirmation about what the Northern Ireland administration want to do with the pay review body recommendation. So quite complicated. So if you're not from Wales and you're joining the call, keep an eye on your own country's section of the RCN website, and again, always feel able to contact us, get in touch, and we'll answer your questions for you. And you'll find quite a lot of Q&A on our websites covering pay and various aspects to do with pay. So another question coming in from the audience. This is about the effect of any award on their pension. So the questioner is asking, how will this award make an impact on my pension? And I'm going to take from that they mean NHS pension and not a pension that's outside of the NHS. And I will go to Nikki first, because again, it's quite a technical question. Nikki, I think it's about an overarching answer. I'm not expecting you to go into the details of the very different numbers of NHS pensions that we've still got out there. So I think the questioner is asking for some sort of overarching answers and about how this would impact on their pension, and any further advice you can provide. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you. And as Helen has said, I'm nowhere near a pensions expert. So my understanding, and Helen may want to come in, my understanding is obviously you will have more in your pay packet, which means that your contributions, because it's all percentage, your contributions to your pension will go up because you've got more pay. it's like when you get a new job or a different band, then it's on a percentage wise with that. So you will end up paying a bit more, but actually that's going to have a positive effect later on in life when you need to take your pension. So hopefully you would see that as a positive as well, because hopefully you would get enough to be able to afford that, as well as have a bit more in your pocket to spend in any way that you'd like to spend it.
Thank you very much, very helpful. And of course, if anybody's got individual particular pension issues they want to ask, they can do that through RCN Direct. As Nikki said, we don't always provide individual financial advice, but we do have facilities for members to access that as part of their membership, and you can find details of that on our website or by web chatting, emailing or contacting RCN Direct. I'm going to take the next question, which again is quite technical, and then I'm going to take Chair's license and ask a question that I was saying earlier that I wanted to get the panel to answer around the sort of links between pay and staffing levels. So, but ensuring that everybody's questions are answered. So this is another quite technical one. So again, I'm going to come to Nikki, because Nikki's business, her everyday job is to make sure that her team answer these technical questions correctly, whereas Richard's job is to make sure that we do that, not to necessarily provide the answers, which is why I'm using Nikki to answer these very technical questions. Okay, so Nikki, the questioner is asking, will the pay awards impact on my banding pay point? And again, it's talking about Agenda for Change banding pay points. So will the award impact on my banding pay points?
Lovely, thank you, Helen. And you know, everybody's pay, whatever banding point you're on, will go up. So it won't actually affect your banding pay points, but everybody will move up in that they'll have more for whatever banding increment you're on now, and then obviously as those increase moving into the future.
Thank you. So it's 3% across the board, really, isn't it? That's the bottom line. Yeah, really helpful. Okay, I'm wondering if we're losing Richard a little, because on my screen his camera has gone, but oh, he's come back now. We've had a couple of little technical issues with Richard's connections as well this afternoon. So before I go back to any more audience questions, I'm going to ask one that's again one of mine, and I'm going to come to Richard first on this one. And my question is this consultation all about pay packets, or is it wider for the RCN? So over to you, Richard.
Thank you, Helen. I think it's much wider than just pay. It's about the service that we deliver for patient care, to give patients quality delivery of care. What you've got to remember that in Wales, like I said earlier, we still have significant vacancies right across Wales, and we wonder why these vacancies are not being filled. And for me, it's about encouraging people to work in this wonderful country of Wales, to deliver care for our patients. And you have to realise that there are many opportunities out there other than nursing. So we need to be encouraging people to come and work in Wales. And if you do not have a good pay structure, then other professions will be, be those that other people will go into other than nursing. So for me, it's about the quality of care that we can deliver. And pay is really important as well, because nursing staff have to pay the bills, they have to pay their mortgages. And what you've got to remember that this year, I think our inflation rate at the moment is 3.4%. And therefore, we're getting a pay cut. We're not getting a pay rise. So that is why we have gone out for consultation to our members. Now, I don't know if Nikki wants to add anything to it.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. You know, and our members are telling us that they are in hardship, they are finding it difficult to pay bills. We know that over 30% of people in a recent survey of our members actually said they were looking to leave the profession, which has increased unfortunately through the pandemic. So we know we're getting to a crisis really in terms of staffing, and potentially that's not going to increase help moving forward. We also know that many of our members are the main breadwinner within their family, and they also undertake caring roles. So they are trying to keep the family together, they're trying to pay for everything. So yeah, again, you know, if they look at other opportunities outside nursing, which maybe offer a more flexible working pattern or more money, then they may well choose to do that. So it's, as Richard said, you know, it's really important that we keep nurses in the profession, we attract people to the profession, and we make it a career for life, and make it so that people do want to stay in the profession. As Helen said, we're spending an awful lot of money on agency, and we know that that's, you know, not always the best thing for safe staffing for our patients. So a lot of members say to me when I'm talking about pay, well, you know, what if we go to do any action, we're going to make it unsafe for our patients. But what we're hearing is that we're actually in the position now where patients are unsafe, and the way we're going with the recruitment, retention, flexibility within the profession, if we lose nurses, then that's going to get even worse over the coming years. So to be able to protect our patients and protect our profession, we really need to make a stand, and make sure that we are valued for the roles that we do.
Thank you very much, Nikki. That's a point well made, and I think something that if members are following us on at RCN Wales on Twitter or on the RCN Wales Facebook page, you'll see not only us talking about that on our official pages, but our members following in behind that and talking about actually the importance of being recognised as a safety critical profession, and ensuring not just the legacy of those people working in the service now, but the future of the profession, and making it attractive to people wanting to come in is central to this debate about nurses' pay and pay for nursing moving forward. I think Richard made the point earlier about, you know, 1,500 vacancies for registered nursing, and that's just in NHS Wales. And if we're honest, the NHS doesn't even know if that's the right number, because it doesn't even know how to count them very well. If you look outside and think about care home and social care environments and private sector environments and GP surgeries and universities and all the other places where, you know, nurses are just the greatest employees you could ask for, we have got a real issue with vacancies for nursing in Wales. So I think the RCN Wales board and its subgroup that's doing the governance of this campaign that Richard talked about earlier are absolutely clear. This is about safe staffing, and that's the thing that most of our members are passionate about. That's what they come and tell us about every day. That's what makes them leave, and that's what makes them say, I'm not staying anymore because I can't give the care that I want to give to the patients that I am hugely wanting to care for. So that's an absolute key message for us in terms of what we're saying to political movers. And as Nikki said, this is a political decision for the Welsh Government as to what they want to pay nursing staff in Wales. So it's really important that we've had an opportunity to just talk about that and the link to that, because I think what it also does is talk through what Nikki was saying about, you know, if we get to a point where our members feel so strongly about the lack of staff, the vacancies, the pressure, the workload, that they're prepared to actually start talking about industrial action. What we're really clear of is we would only do that in a manner where patients are kept safe. Derek has helpfully put in the chat box for you our industrial action handbook, and you can see from there that we would never ask our members to come out and withdraw their labour or take any form of industrial action where we didn't have good policies and practices to ensure patients that need care had that care provided to them. So please take an opportunity to have a look at that handbook. It is published on the RCN website, and please take any opportunity to talk to us. You can do it through RCND, web chat, email, etc. Talk to your local reps as well. Talk to each other about these things, because this is really, really important message here. This is not just about years of underfunding in terms of what that means in your pay packet. It's about years of underfunding, what that means for your profession, and importantly, what that means for the people that rely on you to give them good care. So the link to Safe Staffing is absolutely key for us in this campaign. Okay, I want to get back to a few more questions that are coming in. I'm mindful that we've only got 10 minutes left. It's been a really great debate this afternoon, but I'm going to go back to some questions that are coming in. And the next one we've had has been, what will happen if RCN Wales members' consultation is a different result from RCN England members' consultations? And I think I may have lost Richard for a minute, because I was going to go to Richard first. Are you there, Richard? No, I think I've lost him for a minute. I said he's having a couple of internet problems. So Nikki, I wonder if I could go to you first on this one.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Thanks, Helen. So we are RCN Wales, and we will be listening to our members. And if our members in Wales make a different decision to England, then we will do whatever our members in Wales wants us to do. So that's the beauty of devolution, that we can actually do. And I suppose just to put it out there, that if our members in Wales decide to accept the 3%, then obviously the same as we would with an unacceptable response, we would accept that that was what our members wanted, and we would be looking at the future. So whatever our members tell us, we will be acting on that. Doesn't matter what our thoughts are as employees of RCN Wales, it will be what our members, but rest assured that we will go with what our members in Wales want to do, and if that means that we act in a different way, then we will be doing that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, folks. I've had a bit of problems with my internet connection, but I totally agree with Nikki. And remember, we've got our own subgroup, and we report alongside to the Pay Programme Board, but to the Welsh Board as well. So the Welsh Board are made up of your elected members. And what Nikki is actually saying is absolutely correct. We will be listening to the views and the opinions of our members in Wales.
Thank you, Richard. And I'm just going to take 1 minute here to plug the fact that there will be elections towards the end of this year for RCN Welsh board seats, RCN Wales board seats. So please watch out for those. I'm going to move on to next question. And this one I'm going to ask Richard if you'll start with, because we've got you back online for a moment. And this questioner is asking, if I'm interested in getting more involved with the RCN work, how would I go about doing that?
Oh, just give me your email address. That's really, really important. And for me, it's about getting involved in your local branch, getting to know your lead steward, your activists locally, but also contacting the RCN headquarters in Wales as well, because we would welcome you with open arms. We would be encouraging you to join us in a different activist role. You may want to be a steward, you may want to be a health and safety rep, or indeed you may want to be a learning representative. But come and talk to us. You can have my email address, and I can give you a ring and I can talk to you. Also, Nikki is a very good contact point as well, but we would encourage you to get active within the branch, which is really, really important. Nikki, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add is, you may have seen, and there is a place on the website, we have been doing some organising training with our representative staff and with members. So that's another way that you can get involved, is to have a look at what training. We're just completing some training over the summer, but there will be more, and that's actually about you becoming active, you going out and talking with other members, with people in your workplaces, talking about things that matter. So it might be you talking about safe and effective care. In this arena, it might be that you're talking about pay, but the organising programs will give you some tips, some tools, some techniques on how we can get the word out. And the greatest power that we have is our members. So if we can get all our members out there talking, we can get all our members active out there, then that is going to be much more powerful than anything that my team or the team in RCN Wales can do. So have a look on the website, have a look at the organising. It's a shorter course now, so and you know, get involved, go out and talk to people, get the techniques, but the power is in our members, not in us as an organisation.
Thank you both. And briefly, I mentioned Wales board elections that will be opening in the autumn. We're about to open as well election for the Wales seat on the Professional Nursing Committee of the RCN. I think nominations for that actually closed last week, but use your democratic votes to actually influence the work the RCN does by voting for people. And you might want to consider standing for some of those UK type roles, or as Richard was saying about the different types of roles that representatives do. And of course, as well, you can just be a champion in your workplace. Talk about the RCN if you've experienced it, and encourage others to understand what they get from their membership and how to be involved. And if you're interested in a particular speciality, check out the consultation section of the RCN Wales website. So that's where the government will come and ask us, what do we think about school health policy or sexual health services, or alcohol related brain disorder services, etc. And we're always really keen to get members to tell us what they think on those very sort of specialist subjects of areas and fields that you'll be working in. So keep your eye out for that one. Our policy team really keen to talk to you. Similarly, think about Nurse of the Year as well. That's another way to get involved in the RCN. Nominations are closed for this year. We're about to go into panel decisions, and obviously winners, etc., will become announced as we move forward with the RCN Wales Nurse of the Year. But that really is a great way to get involved with us. People that win and become runners-up join our alumni, and they come along to all sorts of different things like cross-party events in the Senedd, and they come and speak at conferences and seminars that we put on, and they get involved in you know, things that we do to lobby policy makers and others. So there's lots of different ways to get involved in the RCN. Just come and, as Richard said, come and have a chat, and we can talk about what would work for you best. I'm mindful that I've only got 3 minutes left, so I want to cover one more question. And as I do it, I'm going to also sort of make sure, Nikki and Richard, you say any sort of closing remarks that you might want to in case we run out of time. And it's about next year's pay, actually. And the questioner is asking what is happening with the 2022 Nhs Pay Awards. So I'll come to you first, Nikki, and then I'll let Richard have a come in as well. So as I say, we've only got a couple of minutes left. Thank you both very much.
Great, thanks. Yeah, you're quite right. We will be going into the 2022 Pay Award conversations in the next few months. So normally Pay Review Body would start working in the autumn, later in the autumn, if the government decides that it's the Pay Review Body that they want to look at the next Pay Award. They may say that they're happy to negotiate, or they may say, we're just going to tell you what you're going to get and you have no say. So so that process should be starting now in the next few months. So we will be running two things alongside each other, but we need to make sure that we build on whatever happens this year. We need better next year. We cannot let the government just give a pay freeze.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, I don't think I've got anything more to add, except that when we are covered by the Pay Review Body, they come out to NHS employers and they take evidence, and our members are there to provide evidence for them. So if you are an RCN member and you're asked to go before a pay review body for giving evidence locally, then rest assured the Welsh Board will give you as much support as we can to give you the right evidence to give them. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So I've only got 1 minute left. It just gives me a very quick opportunity to say a great big diolch yn fawr iawn. Of course, to our 2 panel members, and I know that Jackie, unfortunately, we haven't been able to get her on the call, but I know that she's tried to listen in, and of course, when we go for this on YouTube, people will be able to follow that up as well. So a big thank you to Nikki and Richard for answering those questions. I think you put them on the spot quite rightly on a number of things, and of course, a big thank you to you, the attendees coming in to this meeting this afternoon. Please share the link with your colleagues so that others can follow it and watch it. And as we've said, please make sure that you get in touch with us if there's anything further you want to ask. And we look forward to seeing you and working with you as the campaign continues over the next few days. So diolch yn fawr iawn. Have a really lovely Sunday evening, and thank you very much indeed. Good night.